Alright, so today we're testing out some new equipment that I hope will make my videos a lot better. I got a hold of a bunch of secondhand Mevo Start cameras. So if you're not familiar with these, they are purpose-built wireless cameras for live streaming, and a lot of people use them for sports broadcasting and stuff like that. So I've got several right now. I've got one directly overhead, one on my face, one over my shoulder here, and then not currently active, we have this one up here looking down on me. So I thought I'd start off with is when I was researching these cameras, I couldn't find anything on a teardown. So I found some people asking how to tear these down, if they had to replace the batteries or whatever, but no one really seemed to have an answer. Lots of people talk about replacing this base plate with 3D printed bases when they break, but not about actually getting the camera apart. And so the trick to the camera is that on the front and rear plates, you've actually got a sticker, a plastic sticker that is covering the bolt holes. So on the back you've got 4. Unfortunately, on this side I cut through instead of peeling the sticker off. I don't really know why I did that, but on the front I completely peeled it off, for one because I found out you couldn't cut through this easily. This is actually a quite thick plate of plastic, not just a sticker. But once you peel the front one off, there's three screw holes in here, and I can't remember, there might have been another one holding this in, but don't just yank the front off of it. As you probably see here, the camera itself is actually bolted in. You have a really tiny connector right here. So when it's slid in, the connector will be between this heatsink plate and the back of the camera. You're going to need to get in there with a spudger tool or something, a small screwdriver, and very carefully work that ribbon off and then slide it out. The outer case is just a hollow sleeve. So when you open it up, you'll see it like this. The front and rear screws actually hold this plate down. Once you have them off, you can very carefully lift it up and tip it up, and you'll have one tiny radio connector to undo. So the reason why I wanted to get this apart, thinking not just of replacing the battery in the future, is that I would like to see if you can use high gain external antennas. So the Mevo's antennas are these little patches on the sides of the case, or the inner case. And it's one of the reasons why this outer case is plastic, is you wouldn't want to block the RF signals from getting through it. Unfortunately, this would be a lot better if this outer case was aluminum for heat sinking purposes. And as you can see, there's a lot of heat sinks. So this one is pulling heat away from the battery, and then this one up here, and they're connected together. Side is pulling it away from, I'm assuming, the Wi-Fi chip here. And on the other side of the case, you have more. Now, something that people may not realize about the Mevos is that they actually heat sink a little bit through their mounting bolt. And so with some of these 3D printed replacements, this camera's base was broken, and so this is a commonly available 3D printed replacement. It's a lot stockier than the original, which is great. That's a good idea. But it's got its own insert. And unfortunately, this insert doesn't actually come all the way up against this surface, whereas the original one does. And it actually pulls heat away from this RF shield down into your tripod. Basically helps it heat sink. And for this particular camera, I can actually tell that it was having heat issues because these cameras had the stickers from whatever sports team they were recording in by the previous owner, and while all the other ones peeled off nicely, this one left all of its glue behind and ruined some of the rubberized coating on the case. Not a big deal to me, but I am glad I opened this one up because I also discovered when whatever happened that broke its original base, the switch, I didn't grab it. Here we go. The reset switch, this little tiny switch, where you would normally push a paper clip or an SD removal tool through here to reboot the camera, had actually broken off the board and was sliding back and forth in the slot. Luckily, there wasn't very far for it to go. Once this is all assembled, it can't really get out of this area, but if it got away, there's a possibility it could hit a different part of the circuit board and short. So I'd rather have it out of there. It's not really worth trying to solder it back on. This camera does run just fine. But the secondary reason why I wanted to take this apart is I can't remember the name of them, but the keychain cameras that a lot of the airsoft guys add to their guns to get from gun perspective shots. They changed the lenses out. There's actually quite a few different lens options, small telephoto lenses and wide angle lenses and stuff. So on the back side, I gotta stop looking at the screen over here, start looking at the camera. But on the camera itself, there's 3 screws which are removed right now. Here, and here. And once they're removed, the camera itself will actually slide out. And so there's 2 dots of glue on here to lock it into position. That's done at the factory. Once they set the focus, they'll glue it to lock it. But that glue can be broken out of there, and then the lens pack unscrewed and different lens packs put on it. And the way this supports it, there's nothing sitting in front of it, so there's nothing stopping you from using longer lenses. And this sticker plate, which is really just held on with double-sided foam tape, won't obstruct it in any way either. One thing this did make me think of, though, peeling this off, a lot of people mark their cameras with colored tape. I can see maybe taking a CNC machine or like a craft cutter and cutting new plates in different colors or different materials so you can mark your cameras more visually from the front. And then just use a much smaller piece of double-sided tape to stick this back in. But I'd like to experiment with 3D printing a new case sleeve that has options for cold shoe mounts and NATO rail and all the things that you see strapped around these cameras normally, but completely replacing this sleeve, making it a little more streamlined a little less, I don't want to call it janky having stuff clamped to it, but personally, I like a little more integrated look. I'd like to find some extruded aluminum that's this shape. I doubt I would find this exact size in oval aluminum, but the one limiting factor with aluminum is you then have to switch out these patch antennas for external antennas because they won't be able to, or at least they'll be very limited transmitting through thin aluminum casing. So here's the other patch antenna. There's one on each side of the camera. And they have very, very tiny connectors. I can't remember the name of these off the top of my head, but you can get short pigtails that go from this to SMA that's threaded to go through a body or a bracket. That's a common mod to routers and small radios. So I guess in conclusion, that's how you take it apart, and I broke my stuff so you don't have to.